Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're diving into something I find absolutely fascinating. And I know you do too, because wow, the amount of stuff you shared with us is really impressive. We're talking about strategies surrounding superintelligence.
It's a rapidly evolving field, no doubt, raising some really fundamental questions about our future.
Right, so just to set the stage, let's quickly define what we mean by superintelligence. As envisioned by AI researchers, we're talking about an AI that vastly surpasses human cognitive abilities in pretty much every domain. And this isn't just about like a faster computer.
Yeah, it's like a qualitative leap, not just qualitative, right? The analogy that your sources bring up, comparing it to the development of nuclear weapons, is really apt in terms of the potential impact on national security and global stability. And what's particularly interesting is this. Superintelligence might be much harder to contain once it's developed.
Absolutely. And that's exactly our mission today, to extract the most crucial insights from your sources on how nations might navigate this new age of superintelligence. Get ready, folks, because we're going to unearth some surprising and really thought-provoking concepts, including one that really stuck with me: mutual assured AI malfunction. Okay, break it down for us.
Let's start with the fundamentals, right? AI is a national security imperative. Your sources make it very clear that AI is a double-edged sword. It has the potential to revolutionize economies, research, you name it. But that same power can be harnessed for military dominance or exploited by malicious actors. Think about the implications of AI-powered bioweapons or cyber attacks.
That's where those three key threats to national security come in, the ones identified in your sources, right? Rival states, rogue actors like terrorists, and then that possibility, quite frankly, of losing control over AI itself. Was there any nuance in your reading on which of these threats is considered the most pressing, the most significant?
That's a great question. While all three are serious, strategic competition between nations is emerging as an immediate and powerful driver. Like imagine a fundamental shift in the basis of economic power. Just as control over natural resources shaped global dynamics in the past, now access to advanced AI chips could be equally decisive. Nations with greater computing power could gain significant economic advantages, and this of course feeds back into the AI arms race.
And then there's the whole issue of super weapons enabled by AI. It sounds almost like something out of science fiction, but the sources really lay it out as a very real possibility, with the potential to completely destabilize the global balance of power, even to the point of questioning the efficacy of traditional nuclear deterrence. Could you give us some examples of these disruptive capabilities that they mentioned?
What's fascinating here is how AI could lead to military capabilities unlike anything we've seen before. They mentioned things like AI-enabled cyber weapons with a sudden and difficult-to-attribute massive destructive capacity, or the ability to render oceans transparent, essentially negating the stealth of nuclear submarines. Imagine the impact on naval strategy, or fog of war machines capable of generating such elaborate deceptions that it would be almost impossible to discern an adversary's true intentions or capabilities. They even talk about AI-powered ballistic missile defense systems becoming so effective that they could eliminate an attacker's ability to retaliate, totally upending the logic of deterrence.
It's a pretty chilling picture, and the urgency of the situation really comes through in the sources, don't you think? They draw a very direct parallel to the Manhattan Project and the current global race for AI investment. The idea that we're at a similar crossroads where the nation that achieves a decisive advantage in AI could gain irreversible strategic superiority. What was your sense of just how intense this race is?
Absolutely. The sense of urgency is palpable. The sources emphasize that the windows of opportunity to establish norms and control regimes are closing rapidly. It's like what happened with early nuclear technology, but possibly have an even faster timescale. And against this backdrop of intense competition and existential risk emerges this idea that, as you mentioned, is both striking and paradoxical. Deterrence through mutual assured AI malfunction, or MAME.
Okay, walk us through this concept of MAME. It sounds very similar to nuclear MAD, but applied to artificial intelligence. What are the key similarities and differences?
The fundamental logic is analogous to nuclear MAD. MAME posits a potential deterrence regime where any aggressive pursuit of unilateral AI dominance by one state would be met with a credible threat of preemptive sabotage by its rivals. Given the relative ease with which an advanced AI project could potentially be destabilized or rendered inoperable, from sophisticated cyber attacks to potential physical attacks targeting critical data centers, this dynamic of mutual threat could already be shaping the strategic landscape among AI superpowers.
So the threat of your super AI being sabotaged would act as a deterrent against you even trying to build it in the first place. But how stable could a deterrent system based on malfunction actually be?
That's precisely the paradox and the main source of instability. Unlike nuclear weapons, where destruction is the direct result of their use, in MAME, deterrence relies on the vulnerability of AI systems. Kids could threaten to disrupt AI projects they deem dangerous through various means. However, as the sources also point out, preventing MAME is inherently difficult, even with attempts to harden AI infrastructure. There will always be uncertainties about an adversary's capability to carry out a sabotage attack and the difficulty of verifying each actor's deterrence capabilities.
And what concrete measures could be taken to try to maintain this MAME regime, even if it is inherently unstable? How do you prevent misunderstandings and accidental escalations?
Well, they mention a few important elements. First, the need to establish clear and well-communicated escalation ladders, similar to nuclear doctrine, so that actions are not misinterpreted and provoke a disproportionate response. Second, the remote and dispersed location of AI infrastructure, far from population centers, to minimize collateral damage in the event of a sabotage attack. And third, a degree of transparency and accountability around the development and deployment of critical AI systems to build trust and avoid unfounded suspicions of aggressive intentions.
Moving on to another crucial front, the sources also address the need for non-proliferation to counter rogue actors, terrorists. The analogy with international efforts to prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction is very evident here. What are the most important parallels that you picked up on in your reading?
That's right. The overarching goal is to prevent AI capabilities that could be weaponized from falling into the hands of non-state actors, like terrorists. The sources identify three key levers to achieve this. The first is compute security, which involves strictly controlling the location of high-end AI chips and preventing their smuggling. The underlying logic is that these chips are an essential component, almost like fissile material for nuclear weapons. Therefore, their access must be rigorously restricted and monitored.
And what specific measures are proposed in the sources to strengthen this compute security? How could the proliferation of these high-performance chips be tracked and controlled globally?
They talk about an international licensing system for the sale and distribution of high-end AI chips, detailed tracking of shipments through verifiable chain of custody procedures, audits and inspections of inventories, and even incorporating security features at the firmware level. Things like geolocation to track their location, remote attestation to verify their integrity, network restrictions to limit their use, and tamper resistance mechanisms to prevent unauthorized modifications. International cooperation and the establishment of global standards are absolutely crucial here.
The second lever is information security, which focuses on protecting sensitive AI research and training model weights to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. What is the biggest risk associated with the leakage of this critical information?
What's particularly concerning here is the risk posed by the open release or leakage of AI models with potentially catastrophic capabilities, like think the ability to design and synthesize dangerous biological agents. The sources discussed a range of measures, from robust corporate security protocols, like defense in depth and strong insider threat programs, to the crucial role of governments in sharing intelligence about emerging threats, and the need for international agreements that establish very clear red lines on the publication of certain types of models with dangerous dual-use potential.
And the third lever is AI security itself, that is, implementing safeguards and control mechanisms within the AI models themselves to prevent malicious use and loss of control by their creators. What kind of protections could be incorporated directly into the architecture of these systems?
This includes a range of model-level safeguards like training the AI to robustly refuse harmful or dangerous requests, implementing sophisticated input and output filters to block malicious commands and harmful responses, and incorporating circuit breakers or kill switches that allow the system to be shut down if activities that could be related to weapons creation or the execution of attacks are detected. They also mention Know Your Customer protocols to verify the identity of users of powerful AI models, mandatory government testing to assess risks, and the establishment of a clear legal liability framework for developers in case of misuse of their creations.
So far, we've talked a lot about preventing disasters and keeping superintelligence out of the wrong hands. But your sources also pay attention to how nations can be competitive in this new age of AI, how they can thrive and secure their future. What key aspects of competitiveness in the age of AI do your readings highlight?
Yeah, exactly. You know, deterrence and non-proliferation, competitiveness is a crucial element of superintelligence strategy. In the military realm, they emphasize the importance of securing resilient supply chains for critical technologies, like drones, the need to carefully integrate AI into command and control systems while maintaining effective human oversight, and the development of AI capabilities for both cyber defense and offense.
And when it comes to economic security, the sources point to a particularly critical vulnerability: the heavy reliance on Taiwan for the manufacturing of advanced AI chips. What are the implications of this dependence, and what strategies do they propose to mitigate it?
Right. The high probability of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan in the next decade poses a huge geopolitical risk to Western access to these cutting-edge chips. This could potentially reverse the current advantage in AI capabilities and give China a dominant position. That's why they underscore the urgency of investing massively in domestic semiconductor manufacturing and facilitating immigration of highly skilled AI scientists and engineers to strengthen domestic innovation capacity.
There's also mention of the growing need to establish legal and regulatory frameworks to govern AI agents as they become more autonomous and capable. What existing legal principles could be applied to AI, and what novel legal challenges do the sources anticipate?
Yes, they propose extending existing fundamental legal principles like the duty of care, the duty not to misrepresent information, and fiduciary duties to the behavior of AI systems, especially in contexts where their actions can have a significant impact. They also discuss the growing need to establish clear mechanisms for attributing liability and legally linking AI agents to human entities, leaving the question of AI rights for a future and more complex discussion.
Finally, when it comes to political and social stability, what challenges and opportunities does the rapid adoption of AI on a large scale present?
They address the serious challenges posed by misinformation and manipulation through AI, where this technology can be used both as a tool for censorship and propaganda and for the detection and analysis of misinformation. They also consider the profound potential impact of mass automation on the job market and the need to think about the future distribution of wealth and power in societies increasingly driven by artificial intelligence. Interestingly, the sources also point to the potential of AI as a tool for making more accurate social and political forecasts, which could aid decision-making in times of crisis.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? This deep dive has revealed that strategy surrounding superintelligence is this complex and delicate interplay of deterrence, non-proliferation, and fostering competitiveness, taking valuable lessons from the nuclear age, but also facing challenges that are entirely new and unique.
What I find particularly fascinating is this: the deep interconnectedness of these strategies. They can't be addressed in isolation. Any action in one area will inevitably have repercussions in the others. It requires a very delicate balance and a holistic understanding to successfully navigate this new technological frontier.
The aha moment for me is precisely that deep interdependence and that urgent awareness that any move in one of these areas has the potential to create ripple effects across the others. It's a complex, dynamic, strategic ecosystem.
This brings up a really fundamental question for you. Given the potential for rapid and transformative change driven by AI, how do you think individuals and societies should proactively prepare for a future where superintelligence may become a reality? This is a thought that extends far beyond national security. It touches on essential aspects of our existence, our values, and our place in the universe.
Absolutely. We invite you to continue exploring these crucial questions and perhaps delve deeper into the sources we've discussed today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.